Modern cars are frigging boring. Every single sharp edge has been rounded and everything has been sacrificed for comfort and convenience until you get to something like this. Meet the INEOS Grenadier. This absolute beauty right here does not care if you want to push button start or for it to be comfortable or anything like that. It just wants you to go from point A to point B and it'll do it. I friggin' love this thing. Let's have a look. Looking at the INEOS Grenadier, it's pretty easy to tell that it is quite a rugged machine, but it isn't just rugged. I think it is also beautiful. Like this silver blue that they have it in, wonderful. This little LED halo around the headlights, fantastic. And the overall look, even though it is very, very rugged, is also very Land Rover Defender. That's exactly what this thing is. INEOS, if you don't know, is an absolutely massive chemical company, and their CEO just simply decided that he wanted the old Land Rover Defender and the new one is too soft and way too comfortable. So this is what we have got right here. Inside of it is a BMW 6-cylinder, the B58 to be exact, which you'll find in the Supra, the Z4, and many other BMWs. It has been proven to be an exceptional engine. If you look it up on YouTube, everyone says it's BMW's best ever, and I tend to agree. It is pretty silly driving around with this because it sounds very turbocharged given the type of vehicle, but at the same time, it should be pretty decent even if it is very detuned compared to some of the other models that it comes in. The whole thing's a bit of a mishmash, as you can see from this little badge right here. It was designed in Britain, has a bunch of German parts, and it's assembled in France, but the German part of France. Moving along the side, we have doors. Shocking, I know, but the surprising bit is that they don't unlock themselves. For a modern car, you actually need to go in here and unlock it just like that, which I would be sad about, except that this thing doesn't want fancy stuff like that, and also they're damn satisfying doors to close. Along all of the side are these little pickup points so that you can attach kind of whatever you want. Apparently this is so if you have a whole bunch of gear and it gets all wet, or your gas or whatever, you can attach it to the side of the car and you don't have to worry about it making all of the interior stuff all messy. Also, we have BF Goodrich all-terrain TAKO2s, which are fantastic in my opinion because you can take them off-road, but also they're not super duper loud on the highway. This is a full gas vehicle and full all-wheel drive all the time, so expect to be opening this door up quite a bit. But as you can see, it's really, really large, and that's because in some other markets you can get a diesel engine from BMW, but in North America we only get the gas. Around the rear, we have this massive full-size spare, as well as a ladder, and as you might have suspected, that is a lot of weight on the back of your car, so you're not going to be having a traditional liftgate. So instead, we get a door. And not just a door, but we get doors. Haha! In the back, we have an absolutely massive area for cargo. You don't have any of those fancy swooping backs or anything trying to be aerodynamic. Nope, she's just a box and you benefit greatly in terms of space. Also, all of this is plastic, which is really good if your stuff is wet and really bad if you want your stuff to stay in one place. Fortunately though, there's 8 tie-down points back here, so it should be easy enough to make it not go too often. Also back here, if you happen to be stranded on the side of the road, we have a couple of little safety vests. How fashionable. And also in here we have first aid supplies, which will be really good if you have a bit of a tumble. As you probably guessed from the intro of this video, the roof up here is actually load bearing, so you can put yourself up here, or more likely you can put all of your supplies up on top, or tents, or anything that you would like. Also, the safari windows that are up here are actually removable. So if you want to get into the passenger seat, you can do so just like this. Ugh. But once in here, we find our first really big problem. The wife approval factor of this car is basically 0 because there is nothing right here, not a single mirror. I went downtown to have a nice dinner with the missus, and when she flipped this thing down and saw just nothing there, man, banned, not allowed to have this vehicle ever. Cannot do it. INEOS, very, very please, put a mirror here. you will sell more. Moving around to the back, there's pretty decent room. It isn't luxuriously large, but if you're tall, you are not going to have any issues. And also, as long as the passenger or driver isn't all the way back, you're gonna have plenty of legroom. Back here, we also have USB-C and Type A for charging and some vents, and that's about all that you get for comforts, but at least the seats feel pretty good. One party trick for this seat in particular is it vibrates a lot. And that's because if you option the subwoofer, it's right under your arse. This right here is just a JBL sub. It's a tiny little powered guy that you can buy off of Crutchfield. And it delivers a surprising amount of bass, not just to this person in particular, but it puts a lot of vibration through the chassis. So even though it doesn't go super low, you can feel the bass and it's pretty enjoyable. Hopping into the driver's seat, this is a very comfortable spot to be. The seats are Recaros. You can just buy them and put them into any car, so they decided to buy them and put them into this, and they are fully manual. You don't get any power seats, no massages or anything like that, which for the price you might want, but for the design goals of this, you do not. This is clearly a no-nonsense vehicle, as you can tell by every single switch. You can kind of appreciate why a lot of manufacturers might be taking many of the functions of a car and putting them into a touchscreen when you see what happens when you take all the functions of a car and turn them into buttons. So there's your standard stuff like your climate control, which you expect. These are incredibly satisfying buttons. Like give this a listen. They are all incredibly satisfying to play with. We have auxiliary power right here that you can turn on and get all the functions of the vehicle without the engine being turned on. Again, incredibly satisfying. And also we have pre-wired auxiliary circuits. So if you want to put lights on the roof or an air compressor around the back, you can do just that. But unfortunately, we don't have some of the more fun options, which would give us even more switches up here. In particular, if I was optioning one, I would make sure to get a winch and some lockers for the differentials. But that said, this is still an incredibly capable machine without them. We have solid front axles, we have full-time, all the time, all-wheel drive, and also we have 4 low if you need to get out of somewhere really nasty. Ugh, that's a satisfying on too. My favorite button though, in a car with all of the best buttons, has to be this one right here. So we have our typical horn, loud, unpleasant, but also we have toot, which is really nice if you just want to get someone's attention, but you don't feel like actually, ah! It's more like, hey. Really the only thing in here that doesn't feel rugged or premium is this little bit of piano black that's on the door, but I really don't think that will prevent you from getting to your location. But once you're there, maybe you need a phone plan, which is why I'm segueing to our sponsor, Saley. A bunch of you probably have vacation coming up right around the corner. First of all, lucky, but you should really make sure to stay connected to the world. Saley's affordable eSIM plans are available for over 200 destinations. All you need to do is load it up before you take off, and you'll have access to all of your apps as you need as soon as you land. That's right, no more waiting in line for a physical SIM or connecting to dodgy airport Wi-Fi. Download the Saley app today and use code ShortCircuit to get 15% off a data plan today. Now, when Wyzak INEOS in Vancouver reached out to us asking what type of a press vehicle we wanted, I said that I did not care at all as long as it came with the Safari windows, because these things are sick. First of all, you can just open them up super easy like that, but also if you push this little clip up and out, you can lift the entire thing and then just bring down the whole little sunroof bit. This gives you a bunch of fresh air, and also I don't know where to put these once I have it like this. I've just been throwing them in the back. It's kind of weird. One thing that I don't like about the Grenadier though is turning it on. You have to use a physical key, which honestly I am totally okay with, but this key itself with its little flip-a-doodle-doo here does not feel satisfying in the slightest to turn. It feels like it was really meant to only be in your pocket. But that said, once it's on, she's a beauty to drive. Throwing the Grenadier in drive and using the actual handbrake, we're able to set off, and it is at home back in the woods like this. We haven't been doing any particularly difficult off-roading, but like That right there was one hell of a bump, and this thing could not care less. On dirt roads like this, the handling is really great. Like, I am not pushing it, but on these bumpy, dirty back roads, it absolutely loves it. This thing is a dream if you want to do overlanding or camping or stuff like that. And like, let's be honest, unless you're intentionally trying to get into trouble, most of what you're doing if you're going overlanding is ripping along forest roads like this one. All right, I want to do a little bit of a launch. Here we go. Oh, the whole thing moves when you rev it. Oh, there we go. This thing has 282 horsepower, 332 foot-pounds of torque delivered to the ground through an 8-speed ZF transmission. This thing right here also does 0 to 60 in 8 seconds, which I will not be doing because that'll be pretty scary on a dirt road like this one. But that said though, the handling back on these dirt roads is fantastic. All of the suspension and all of their decisions make so much sense, and it feels so good going around the corners and stuff like that on the dirt. It is an absolute dream. On pavement though, things aren't quite as good, and a lot of that comes down to the caster. Now the caster is basically the angle that your suspension steers through, and the effect that has is it very slightly lifts the front of your car when you turn the steering wheel. Now most cars have 4 to 5 degrees of caster. The ones that are handling Legends have more like 7. This right here has 2, and from the forums that I have seen, a lot of them come with more like 1.5 or 1.5 degrees. Now the problem that has is it does not want to center itself very much. So when you're going around a corner, you kind of, you turn your wheel, but then you physically have to turn it back, which is not the greatest. Also, when you're going around corners on pavement, I don't do it particularly fast. Up here on the visor, it says that it has a tip over risk, and I believe them. I really think on most roads at highway speeds, if you really wanted to, you could flip this thing, no problem. Whinging done though, overall, given its capabilities, this is a really nice car to drive around. If you're just ripping through the city, it does have the problem that the turning radius is an abomination, but that can very simply be solved by ignoring curbs, which this thing loves to do. Overall, it's quite a comfortable spot to be, and it's shockingly quiet given the size of those tires. And as a bonus, the sound system rocks pretty good. Play Crab Rave on Apple Music. In here we have 5 speakers, and I believe that they have coaxials in the doors here because they do sound quite good. I get nice highs, plenty of bass from that little sub. Even if it doesn't go super low, it gets a lot of vibrations in your arse, which is a whole load of fun, and I think it sounds pretty darn good. That said, it is not perfect because all of the speakers are down in the doors. You can hear it being down in the doors. Instead of having a soundstage that is up and around you, it's more down below you unless you get it loud enough for it to just sort of spray sound all over the place. And also because they have just a JBL subwoofer in the back, it doesn't perfectly integrate into the front. If you have a really, really good sound system, the sound of your subwoofer will join up with your door speakers and tweeters, and it all sounds like it's coming from one coherent place, where in this you can kind of tell they just threw a sub in the back. Overall though, very enjoyable sound system. As for the infotainment itself, it is perfectly fine. You get Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, so you'll probably just end up using that most of the time, but it is a little bit disappointing that the important things that you normally have on your dash are located over in this area. As for the dash itself, you just get a whole load of warning lights and nothing else. Even just adding a speedometer right in front of you would be a game changer. I would love it if they had that right there, and then I wouldn't even care that the fuel and the temp and stuff is all over here. That said though, if you're actually off-roading, they have a bunch of really nice stats, just like tire pressures, temperatures of your gearbox, transfer case, all of that sort of stuff. Also, if you want, you can look at your elevation gain, so you can see that we actually did go up into the hills quite a bit there. What's our max? We hit 820 feet above elevation. Not too bad. We can also see that it's not the most fuel efficient. Our drive, even though I have been kind of bashing on it, so far is 27.4 liters per 100 miles. Oh, that's per 100 miles. What the f is that? So we have kilometers per hour, liters, feet, and miles. Sure. Either way, these screens are really cool and fun to look at. One thing I do wish that was spec'd is you can get a compass and a temperature gauge instead of the Grenadier logo right here, but also, whatever, this is fine. As for other assists, there aren't any. The cruise control is just straight up cruise. You don't get any fancy adaptive stuff, which does make this a little bit more fatiguing on the highway, but also, oh well. Also, you don't get any sort of lane centering or assists like that. It just gets mad at you if you start to depart your lane. And otherwise, you drive the car. You're in control, which honestly, I kind of appreciate after how poorly so many manufacturers have done assists in some of the other cars. It's just incredibly refreshing to get into something that kind of just treats you like an adult, speed warnings aside. You want to change the temperature? Frickin' turn a dial. You want to go faster? Use your foot. You want to not hurt the person in front of you? Use your foot, but on the other pedal. That's all there is, and I friggin' love it. This thing right here is very far from a perfect vehicle, but also it's interesting, and I adore that. If you're not a vehicle enthusiast, I do not think that you should get this. This right here is a vehicle that is made for a purpose and makes sacrifices in order to fulfill its goals. So if all that you want is a comfy thing for going and getting groceries or looking frickin' sick around town, okay, well maybe you still want to get it, but it's not the best car for that job. But if you want something that is durable, will last a long time, probably, we'll see how their support actually is, this is the car for you. Man, I cannot believe that this was made in 2025. Just like I can't believe that you watched this video in 2025. So huge thanks for watching, hit like, get subscribed, and have a great old day. I'll see you later.